think most artists are trying to paint more loosely. I've never heard an artist say, I'd really like to paint more tightly. It's just something that we all tend to fight and want to have a looser painting. And I have found one of the best strategies for that is to go up significantly in the size brushes that you're using. And I started wondering, I wonder how big of a brush I could use and actually pull off a painting. So I'm going to do a field of sunflowers, and I have pulled out some really ginormous brushes, and even these size 12s feel pretty big. I'm going to see what I can get away with, how loose and exciting a painting I can generate with these, and I'm going to film it and let you see it. Stay tuned. I've got a nice assortment of greens at the bottom. I've got some earth tones. I've got some different yellows and a cad red medium. I'll put these colors up on the screen. So I'm just going to try some of these different brushes. Some of them are a little wider than others, and I'm going to need something fairly chiseled, I think. I may end up having to drop back to these 12s. These are these Princeton Catalyst poly-tip brushes. They're very, very stiff, but they'll hold a lot of paint. I should be able to get some nice big juicy brush strokes, but I'm going to start out particularly with this foliage in the bottom. I'm going to try, this is a 3-inch Royal & Langnickel angular brush. This is a 2-inch Blick Essentials. Blick makes these super cheap brushes. I like them a lot. They're very thin. They just feel good in the hand, and we're just going to see what we can do. Like I say, I've never tried a painting with this, but there's just only one way to find out, right? Okay, my friends, the first thing I want to do is just I want to have sort of a focus on some of the foliage with real strong shadows and real strong lights down here, so it won't just be about the sunflowers. So I think I'm going to get brave. I'm going to use this 3-inch brush, and I'm just going to dip into some of these different greens. I'm going to go in with my sap green at first, and I'm just going to put in some darks down in here. Goodness, boy, there is not... I'm dipping into the olive green and the sap green. I've got both of them on the brush. If you want to experience not having any control over your brush work, try a 3-inch brush. This is just kind of crazy. It's really using a lot of paint. But I can see already that this could be very beautiful. I'm going to try the chromium oxide green. I'm going to put in some of these stalks that I'm seeing. Here's sap green and the olive green. These leaves are definitely going to be super impressionistic, but I do want to make sure I get in enough darks here at the bottom so that I can go back in with some lights. And I'm already out of my sap green. I'm going to have to reload my palette. I can see this is going to take a lot of paint, but that's okay. So again, I know we're going to have a lot of dark going on at the bottom of the canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and just get this put in nice and dark. I'm still using a variety. I've got mainly the sap green, but I'm picking up some of these other paints as well. And we want to have some interesting shapes with our darks rather than having the dark just flat all the way across. You know, try to have some pockets where you've got something super dark up in here, and then it sort of drops back. There's a real dark leaf over in here. It's really kind of fun though. It's liberating. I like painting with this real thin handle. It's very light, but gosh, you just don't have any control over it because the brush hits so far away from your hand. It's not like a long brush with a small tip where you could really control where that tip goes. The tip of this brush hits so far before your hand does that you just don't have much control. Woo! Isn't that fun? Not much control. Gonna leave some space for some sunflowers here. And we've got a little lighter corner right in here. I might, for the sunflowers, drop back to that size 12. I just don't see how on earth I'm gonna be able to get any kind of small enough strokes to get those small sunflowers in. I'm going to dip in a little bit to my yellow oxide right in here. Just trying to lighten up this whole area. I think there's this temptation to want to kind of scrub this in, and I'm trying to resist that and just putting down long gestural strokes. You've still got to get the white covered up, but yeah. Okay, let me just go ahead and drop a little more dark in here. And then it goes back a little light over in this corner. Beautiful marks. I'm liking this a lot. I've got a few places where there's a real thick piece of paint. I think I'm just going to leave that. And the sky comes down pretty low, so I'm not going to try to go much higher with that. I'm probably going to have to either take a hairdryer or just treat this like it's oil paint. I'm painting in acrylic today. I have not put in a slow dry medium, and I think because the paint is so thick, it's going down with really lovely strokes. I don't feel like I need to add any medium. Okay, so that was fun. Let's drop back now. Let's see what else we've got in here. We've got a little 2-inch brush. I think I'm going to save that for the foliage. I think for the sunflowers themselves, I'm going to go down to this size 12 Catalyst poly tip brush. It's a very, very stiff brush, but it really holds a lot of paint. So I'm switching to this other brush, but I'm going to continue to try to load a lot of paint. In my reference photo, the sun is straight overhead, so it's not really giving it the best angles. I think I'm going to treat it like the sun is on this side and have a little shadow over there. I'm going to go into my Payne's Gray and my Burnt Sienna and just try to get some big gestural strokes here. I'm not going to overthink this. All right, now I'm just going to take the same brush and I'm going to be dipping into my yellow oxide. I'm going to use a little bit of this cad red down near the center of the flower. As we go up and out, we'll use some more of the yellow, the cad yellow, and I don't even have any white on my canvas, on my palette. So let me add some white and we will be ready to roll. Are you feeling inspired yet? Are you feeling the challenge to get some bigger brushes? It's really a lot of fun. You know, I think when we are first starting to paint, we want to have total control, and that's why we get little brushes and we clamp down on the brush like a pencil. But the more you can use bigger brushes, hold it like this instead of like this, because that's trying to control it. if you just let the brush and the paint do what it wants to do, that's when you're going to get these really lovely impressionistic paintings, and that's what we're hoping for. So I'm going to dip a little into my yellow oxide and a little into my cad yellow. I don't know what this is going to do. We'll just find out. That's kind of nice. Just going to vary these strokes. You know, with sunflowers, some stick out farther than others. And if you look at the way sunflowers are made, you'll have, if they're turned at all, you'll have one area where the petals seem shorter and another where they seem taller, and that's important to get it to read correctly. Some are going to be wider, some will be much thinner. I don't know whether to try to fix these little places or just let them go. Kind of tempted to just let them go. I am going to, I'm going to go ahead and dip just the tip of this brush in my cad red medium, and I'm just going to drop while this is still wet. I'm just going to drop in places where this can blend with that paint. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to put a lot. Just give it a nice little glow there. We can always go back and add a little more. So that was kind of fun. I've got some thick places of paint, and then it's thinner, but I like it. I like what's happening with that. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge going around that to put that sky in, but hey, we're up for a challenge. That's what this whole thing's about, right? Oh, big strokes, big strokes. This is a great brush for this. I bought a set of these brushes years ago based on the recommendation of another artist, and I just hated them. I didn't understand them. I just didn't get it, and I didn't use them for years and years, and just recently I've pulled them out and I absolutely love them, and for this kind of painting they're just great. I'm holding this a little bit, I'm trying to stay out of your way a little bit, and I'm trying to get, you know, at an angle enough to get these petals in. This is some kind of fun, folks. I think if you're interested in doing this kind of painting, I think, and if you're using acrylics, I think it would be worth an investment to get some of these brushes. They're so stiff. It's kind of hard to explain until you can just handle one and feel it, but it's very stiff, but because of that it holds a lot of paint. I'm going to see if I can get some of this paint off my brush, and then I'm going to dip back into that red. I'm just putting a little bit of that red on the corner, just dropping it in close to the center. I'm not overthinking it. It's a little taller in some places than others. I do want to get that little gap of white filled in, and you know, we can always go back and touch that up if we need to. Now I'm getting a little of that yellow spread into the center. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a real concern or not. We can always go back with the dark and kind of clean up that edge too if we get further along and feel like that's distracting. I do encourage you though to drop the red in while the yellow is still wet, just so you'll get a nice soft edge there. So again, I'm going into the yellow oxide and the cad yellow mixed. So just by turning your brush, you can get a long pointed stroke, or you can get something more blunt. But I love how this is letting me put a lot of paint on there. Really nice painting experience. I'm enjoying a lot. Got some little babies down here. It's getting a little hard for me to do this and not get in front of the camera. We've got one just in full sunlight. I'm probably going to go back through and just highlight and make some spots more yellow. Okay, this one is actually facing down. I'm just going to take this off. Start over with this one. So this one, the head is actually facing down, and so is this one. I might, if you won't tell on me, I might see if I can drop down. Here's a little flat. It's probably not going to do quite as well as that. I like the angle. Here's a little bit smaller angle. This is that same company. Let me try for these smaller ones. I'm going to go back in and reestablish those browns. So I might quit talking for a little bit, I might even just try photographing instead of filming all these, and I'm just going to finish doing the rest of the flowers, and then we'll move on to the greenery. All right, I'm going to go back to my size 12 brush. Let me make sure you can still see that. And I'm going to start taking a variety of lighter leaves, lighter color, primarily I'm going to just kind of dip into this chromium oxide green and this olive green. I might pull in a little of that yellow ochre to lighten it. I might pull in a little cad yellow. Just get some different greens going here and see if we can get some real expressive strokes. So I don't know how realistic that looks, but I'm just putting a different amount of pressure on the brush, and I'm just kind of picking the brush up off the canvas a little bit. You'll notice here I've got some yellow and green that's not mixed together. I think that's so beautiful. So I encourage you to dip your brush in different piles of paint, and don't mix it too much. Just let the paint have some freedom to do what it wants to do. Do some bigger, I just love how that's doing. So I put the brush down. When I got to here, I put more pressure on it, and the brush splayed out a little bit. Now I started picking the brush back up, and it got thinner again. Love that. Love how this is looking. Keep plenty of paint on that brush. It might get a little darker as they go down. There's a big leaf. This feels like such a big brush because I can't get too close into here. I can't really control it. But isn't that kind of the beauty of it? So You know, we can always go back in and touch up, but I think this is going to be so loose that that's just not going to be an issue. I'm going to go in the yellow oxide and drop some things in. Get back into a little bit of my sap green. There's another flower there. I think I'm just going to put in more foliage. So I love what's happening with these leaves. I think it's good to have leaves crossing over other things. Stems need to make sense. And some of these are going to start to turn down. It's nice to have some things back and behind. In the photograph I'm using, the leaves get real, they're catching the light a lot right in here, so I might try to have a little lighter corner here. What drew me to this photograph is that it was such a mess of foliage in there. I almost like that better than the sunflowers. Let me get back from it and just see how this is reading, and if it, I think it's exciting, at least close up. Let's see if it is from a distance. So it's not quite as exciting from a distance as I had hoped. Let me lower this a little bit. Part of the reason is that this is reading all the same color. Even though close up I'm seeing the variety, when you get back from it, it's not. So let me go ahead and finish kind of getting this drawing put in, and then I'm going to go back in and add some more color. I like having lots of layers on top of things. I think it's a lot more interesting than just hitting it once. And of course, we're going to have some kind of sky or something back in here as well. So I'm going to go back into just some cad yellow, maybe a little white with a touch of the green, and let's just hit that in some spaces. See what that does. Helping, just getting in some darks, varying those values a little bit. I'm going to play with these leaves a little bit. I don't know that I'm going to try to film all this, but I'm just going to go back in, put in some darker darks, some lighter lights, and just keep pushing on that. I'm going to go back in and fix these two flowers and correct. This has gotten kind of muddy looking, and I'll be back. Here I'm showing you at the bottom where I just took some lighter greens and dropped them in on top of that dark. You can see why it was so important to have that undercoating of that dark. Look at those big dark brush strokes. It's really, really beautiful. Here I cleaned up the sunflowers. I put in a pale blue background for the sky, scrubbed in some white clouds. Look at those loose brush strokes. You just couldn't have gotten those with small brushes. So yes, I think we got away with doing this with ginormous brushes. I love the effect. I love the dark tangled greenery at the bottom. That's what drew me to the photograph, and I would say mission accomplished. And I really encourage you with your next painting, just put the idea of what's practical out of your head and go for the most ridiculous sized brushes you can find and give them a try and see what you can do with your next painting. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. And if you'd like to find out more about me and how I can help you grow as an artist, please check out my website. There you'll find very inexpensively priced courses and shorter tutorials. You'll find a link in the description box below. You can also see my available paintings at my website. 25% of my painting sales goes to build water wells through hydrating humanity. Thanks for watching, and God bless.